Good evening. It's Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Ivan Raiklin. I am one of the hosts for the weekly show Legal Tech. Used to be known Blab Lawyers, but tonight I just wanted to talk about, before I continue, I want everybody to go around and do a brief introduction on who you are. Again, I'm Ivan Raiklin, angel investor, startup advisor, and host of 4 different shows on Blab, and tonight it's Legal Tech. Nick, take it away.
I'm Nick Rishwain, and I'm the Vice President of Experts.com, an online marketing platform for expert witnesses and consultants. I am not a practicing lawyer, but I did go to law school and found a different avenue. And I guess if we're talking hosting, I host 2 blabs, this being one of them. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Mary tonight.
All right, so Mary.
Okay.
Basically, I want to prep the field a little bit tonight. So, Mary, I was introduced to by a mutual, probably your friend and acquaintance of mine, which is there was a podcast called Angel Investing Podcast that launched in October. It got on my radar when I did an interview for another podcast called Serious Startup Podcast, and I guess by having that interview, I got on the radar, or maybe vice versa somehow, of Tatiana Gray, and she hosts that podcast, the Angel Investing Podcast. I started listening to it, very interesting, and so we started a dialogue, and then she introduced me to other recovering attorneys, as I like to call them, and she likes to call them that too. And one of the persons she introduced me to through email was Mary Juetten, and the rest is history up until right now.
Awesome.
Mary, take it away.
So I am like Nick, I went to law school, but I'm actually not a recovering lawyer. I'm a recovering accountant because I also have a CPA and a CA from Canada. So I'm also Canadian. You can play spot the about.
Nice.
So it's really nothing like How I Met Your Mother. I just wanted to get that out there. But I know Tatiana through Barbara Clark, who was also, I think, on that email chain. And Barbara Clark is starting to do some of these blabs. So for the record, I do no blabs. I'm just a guest. I don't host any shows. But Barbara's doing a show. She's interviewing 100 entrepreneurs this year. And Barbara's on my company, Traklight's advisory board. She's also an angel investor. So so it's great to connect. And I have not only Traklight, because that would be just too easy to have one company. I also
have to have a portfolio of activities as well as portfolio of
Exactly. So I co-founded a company called Evolve Law with New York-based Hire and Esquire's COO, Jules Miller, who was also on the same email. Very important email, right, Ivan?
Yes. Very important. Power. Heavy hitters in that email.
So I'm happy to be here and happy to answer any questions and talk about anything.
Cool. So yeah, I'm going to kick it off. Basically, my question to you then, Mary, is tell us a little bit about Traklight. Tell us a little bit more about Evolve Law, and also just kind of like the heading, I guess, if you will, the 20, 30-second pitch, and then back up and explain how you got into that, and then we'll delve into it in more depth.
Okay, so Traklight basically is what happened? Somebody?
Maybe an internet issue.
Okay, so I will just keep on.
Yeah.
So Traklight is Nick's back. So I haven't started. Here we go. Okay. So Traklight in 30 seconds is an automated way for small to medium-sized businesses to self-assess risk and identify their intellectual property. So it also works for trusted advisors like attorneys because it allows them to automate the capture of a lot of information that would usually have to be gathered by having a face-to-face conversation or filling in cumbersome PDFs with potential clients. So from an attorney point of view, it's basically automated issue spotting, for lack of a better word. Okay. The attorneys that we work with are IP attorneys. Obviously, that's where we started. And then we also work with business, startup, and venture lawyers. Evolve Law actually came out of the I'm trying to use a good word, but frustration of trying to sell into the legal market. And Jules Miller and I met about 2 years ago, and we bonded over not only red wine, but also over the just how were we going to tackle this problem rather than just complain about things. I'm very much a just get it done person. So rather than complain about it, we thought, well, why don't we bring a little bit of that Silicon Valley demo days type approach to legal technology companies. So we did an initial event in New York, and we didn't make it into an actual company until the end of September last year. And so we counted them today before this. We have over 50 companies that are members of Evolve Law. So going back,
let's check that out. Let's see, since we're on that.
Yeah, I want to just clarify. I want to clarify while he's looking that up. It's evolvelaw.com and traklight.com, right? Are they correct in the chat?
No, it's evolvelawnow.com.
Okay.
Because shout out to the attorney who has Evolve Law Now, just evolvelaw.com. We'd love to have it. But we have evolvelawnow.com. And then Traklight is traklight.com, but it's Traklight without a C.
Got that one. Okay. Just want to make sure I have them correct in the chat.
Perfect.
Guess who just came into the chat?
Who's here?
We just finished speaking about her. Tatiana Gray.
Oh, nice.
Welcome.
So she says hi. So when I was in law school, I went back to law school after about 20 something. We're not going to let people do the math, but 20 something years of being in business. And I went back to law school to be a white collar crime prosecutor because I'd seen every episode of, Law and Order, white collar, fill in the blanks. So when I went back to law school, I ended up taking some courses and working in a clinic. And the clinic was Tech Ventures. So I was working directly with entrepreneurs. And having been an accountant, and I was also a consultant with Price Waterhouse, I was like, this is like really interesting, meeting with these people, seeing what they're doing with their businesses. Okay, so now I'm actually in law school, so I'm going to have to go away and draft an assignment agreement and all of these agreements. Well, I'm really not liking any of this drafting, but I really like trying to help them figure out what their intangible assets are, what's their IP. And I noticed between that and then I was taking a class on managing intellectual property portfolios, which you shouldn't say fast. I noticed there were so many mistakes that had nothing to do with, an improper patent filing. They were more like things like, hey, let's just do this together on a handshake. And then we get down the road and patents are filed and people start fighting. So I decided it would be really cool if there was like a TurboTax, drawing from my accounting days, TurboTax for identifying your IP. And I, to be honest, did not start at all thinking about
we got a little freeze on Mary here. Not the end of the world. If you can still hear me, Mary, just go ahead and refresh your browser.
a product for lawyers.
Are you there?
Sorry?
Okay.
I think your son is on some video game at this point.
We had you freeze just for a second at the TurboTax.
Okay. Yeah, nobody's on. You guys say poor internet signal.
Oh, we do? Okay. Then
I'm getting a great signal from everybody. You jumped out a little bit. I don't know. I think it might be on your end, Mary, because I think
if you'll hit refresh and then call back in, I'm going to pause the recording.
Tax, and apparently then I disappeared. So tried to create a TurboTax for these small and medium-sized businesses. And what ended up, I was having lunch today with a woman here in Phoenix, and we were talking about how that was about, I started with our beta product in 2012, and we've spent years educating basically the entire Phoenix area plus nationally, educating companies that, yes, you all have IP. It is your most valuable asset. So it's super important that you get it right and lay the right foundation. So that's where we came up with the idea of Traklight, and the name is, the light is your genius, the light bulb, but it's getting started on the right track, making sure you keep track of it. And the analogy that I like to use is many of our companies are software companies, or they don't have bricks and mortar. And even if you do have bricks and mortar, you still have trade secrets. You have all of this intangible. So once a year, if you sell cars, for example, very tangible asset, you go out there and you count your cars to make sure they're all still there. So why wouldn't you do the same thing with your intangibles? So our idea was exactly, somebody's just written, Nick has written recipes, customer lists. One of the case studies that we have on our website is a juice bar. She had all these recipes. She didn't realize that, when she's interviewing people, when she's hiring people, she has to protect those. Those are the lifeblood of her company. So we set out this goal of being like the Intuit of intangibles. So it's a bit of a lofty goal. I
like it, though. That's a great way to summarize it, though. That's really awesome.
So
when you say IP, Mary, it's the whole gamut? Patent, trademark, trade, like you said, trade secrets, so federal, state, as well as copyright.
And then just general know-how. And so the way we structured it's basically a questionnaire. So it's like TurboTax, and actually the colors even look quite similar to an older version of TurboTax. And it's the idea.
Don't say that.
They're colors. We actually have a nice relationship with Intuit at this point, to this point. So the idea is that you're walking through a questionnaire, so you yourself don't have to know anything about IP, because it's overwhelming to people. They hear patents, they think it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. And often what you just need to do is identify all of your ideas and what potential IP they might need protecting. And then you can sort of step through it and take your time. But if you know what it is, then you can protect it. You can't protect what you don't know you have. So and I'd like to say that it was like a straight line to where we are today, but it looked more like, So we went from a free model to being, an entire paid model. Now we have a freemium model. So the beginning is a free business risk assessment, and then we upsell, and then we do a whole range of licensing with attorneys, because that's what we learned, that we had to be completely flexible selling into the legal market.
Right. Can you talk us through them, the two business models?
Please. That was kind of where I was going as well.
If you're a startup, you want to jump in, what would be the process?
So if you're a startup, you're actually right there, where you would start as a free business risk assessment. And it is truly free. We don't take your credit card. That's one of my pet peeves, is that we don't require any credit card information. You come in, you do your risk assessment. It walks you through basically, where are you at with employees, contractors, and what are you planning to do? Because that's where people get in trouble. They're like, right now I don't have any employees. And then 2 weeks from now, you end up hiring somebody, but you don't take the time to go find out what are the proper things that you need to do. So that's where you would get started. And then you can upgrade to the full questionnaire. We also have, it's kind of a side product. It's not Dropbox. It's a time-stamped encrypted vault, which is really great. Let's say you write a song and then you send it off to, I don't want to put in any singer's name, but let's say just Beyonce. You send it off to her. You can have a timestamp version of it in our vault, and we actually have all of the checksums and all those wonderful things that our VP technology totally understands that I don't. We have all of that information. You can verify when you uploaded files. So that came out of the idea of a time-stamped in encrypted notebook. Tatiana's asked if it's using blockchain. No, it doesn't have anything to do with blockchain. It's just a encrypted at a certain level, and then it's a time stamping mechanism that we can actually provide it if somebody wanted to do e-discovery and say, hey, we want to see this, we could provide access to do that. So that has grown into something that companies can use. We have a collaborative vault, and our different business model there is that instead of charging like other companies do on a by seat basis for our vault systems, it's based on size. So you can have 100 users if your vault stays underneath the size. Okay. Because again, it kind of goes back to my accounting background, that the number of users doesn't drive our hosting costs. So
storage,
this is
the amount of storage that they're taking is what, okay.
But this is a, sort of a secondary product. Our focus has been on the actual questionnaire, and we integrate that with through the vault with people like, for example, Clio, which is a legal practice management system. We have an integration with them, so you don't have to use our vault, but it's a way of passing the documents back and forth with Clio.
Okay. And Clio's it's a case management, practice management system. Is that right?
Yes, legal practice management system. Yeah. And then when we're working with attorneys, what our goal is to save the attorneys the time, or save them giving away free hours to sit down with somebody and ask them, how many employees do you have? What are you working on? So the idea there is that we set up what we call a custom landing page or a portal for them. We can customize all the reports and make it almost like a white label. And we set it up so the attorney can basically, I always like to say, time is finite and technology is infinite. So you can send out all kinds of codes and access to Traklight to potential clients, and then you can have someone review it and decide, is this a client that I want to then spend time with, or is this somebody better off referred to another firm, or that type of approach. I don't know if you've heard of the book, The Checklist Manifesto.
Yes.
So somebody recently brought it to my attention, and I'm in the middle of reading it, and I think it's exactly not, and I don't want to say like I thought of this when I thought of Traklight, but it works out the same way, because the way we've created Traklight, you can actually have, if you don't want the client just sitting there filling it out themselves, you can have a paralegal or a legal assistant or an associate use our system, because it's a checklist. You're not going to miss one of the important questions that you need to ask a startup. So. Okay.
Now, how does the attorney fee structure work? Are they a monthly member, or how does that work?
So the way the fees work is that for our questionnaire, for our vault, it's all like normal SaaS. It's like a monthly subscription, and our basic vault is free. That's the one where you get one person to share it with and yourself. That one's free. All the ones that are paid, unlimited users. The questionnaire has a annual fee that you pay up front. So if you just go to our website and use the questionnaire, it's $199. Okay. If you are an attorney, then we give you a wholesale rate. Or if you're, or we also have, we have a new law firm that's using it where we've figured out, okay, let's just make it a flat monthly fee, and then we don't have to count how many people you send there, other than over the year, we don't want to exceed a certain amount. So we've basically, because it's technology and we've got this way of tracking all of it, we can do any way that we want. And we charge attorneys for setting up the custom portals. It's like a one-time fee.
All right.
So,
and who do you notice? Do you have a bigger, and if it's proprietary, I understand, but do you have more attorney users or more startup users, or is it pretty evenly? Where do you see your growth right now?
So that's a really interesting question, because it's difficult having like a two-sided market. It's a challenge. We're working on some pretty big, and I don't know if I shouldn't announce them. There's two big contracts that we're working on where we will be kind of like the backbone. So you'll go to XYZ platform, you'll know that it's Traklight that you're using. And the way that we've set it up is we want to make it simple for people. Like you go in and you get a red flag, hey, you need a business entity. We have it all linked to our resource page with different ways you can solve that problem and address the risk. When we work with these other bigger companies that are aggregators of small and medium-sized businesses, they have their preferred partners. So whether that's a Rocket Lawyer or a LegalZoom, it's basically Traklight acts like a private marketplace lead generation for all of the partners. And that's really where we're seeing our growth, because we're working on 2 big contracts this year for that. Okay. With the attorneys, we actually revamped the way we were approaching attorneys, and we get our referrals through people like Clio. Because if you think about it, well, just to share some of our lessons learned, we spent a lot of time talking to lawyers who had no interest in using technology and wasted a lot of time.
You're talking about most, right? In the 90 percentile range?
Yeah.
Or attorneys, and it's kind of sad. We have attorneys who have paid us to set up these custom subdomains, and they don't use the software. So it kind of gets back to this change. You have to change the way you're undertaking your practice. So we find that the referrals that come from partners like a Clio they're great, because these are lawyers who it's not really even selling to them. I had a call just the other day, I can't remember if it was yesterday or not, where the lawyer basically said to me, well, this is perfect. This will save me time and generate me more revenue. I was like, yeah.
Right.
So, okay. Whereas if you just are kind of trying to find different attorneys and cold calling, none of that works. So we've got what I was told today is called authority marketing. You basically are presenting this particular lead from the other day from Clio came because I did a presentation on key performance indicators for Clio. And while I was on the presentation, this lawyer said, oh, I looked up Traklight, and I was like completely diverted from what you were talking about, because I started looking at Traklight Pro and thinking, hey, I could use this with my firm. And I was like, wow, this is better than buying Google ads. Sorry, Google. And it's better than buying Facebook ads. And, we've experimented with all of that, and none of that works. It just doesn't. So.
No, absolutely. What about LinkedIn? Have you done much with LinkedIn ads? Because I think that would be more of the target market, but it's not as robust as Facebook ads, definitely, or Google.
Right. But, if we're trying to go to the small and medium-sized business, the lesson we learned over about the last 18 months was don't go one business by one business. We have our website. We do a lot of blogging. I have some amazing people that work with me, particularly Mike Willie, who does our Traklight blog. We take guest posts too. Anybody who wants to talk about anything relevant to startups, and Mike does all kinds of blogging for us, and he has this wide range, but he doesn't do the legal CLE. I just see Tatiana's asking questions. He doesn't do the legal CLE stuff. I do that. I've done some stuff here in Arizona. I actually did a CLE on crowdfunding, and we've moved into doing CPEs for CPAs too. So it's this whole idea of just putting it all out there for free. Mm-hmm. And it just takes a long time to come back. But with the small and medium-sized businesses, they still want everything for free. And I don't blame them, because as a business owner, so do I.
Right.
So that's why we move towards the free business risk assessment. And that does convert. But Facebook ads and I don't even think we ever tried Twitter ads. They don't work with small and medium-sized businesses. We experimented with sponsored posts for LinkedIn and really didn't get much. It's more I spoke at Clio's conference on KPIs, and, being an authority on something like that, or my thing is the business of legal, because I have a business background and a inkling of legal.
And like you mentioned, the key thing there is if you produce enough content that's valuable, then people see you as the expert in that particular field. And then that's what's going to drive traffic, because then it brings you the social proof as well as the credibility. And so when people are looking online, nowadays, they're like, okay, your name's here, 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 and here. Legitimate products are being put out. Let me take a look. And then that's how the funnel starts working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And So we've sort of circled around and started doing a lot in the legal, and now we're coming back in. I'm speaking at Infusionsoft's Icon conference here in March, which I'm excited about because
Nice.
I've never been able to speak at something that's kind of that large a venue. Was involved a little bit with HubSpot, but it was more as a customer. So
Infusionsoft and HubSpot, where did I see that? Those were some on the advisory board, right?
yes, I have. I have employee number 6 of. That's my biggest piece of advice to anybody who wants to start a company is find some amazing advisors. Start with mentors if you don't have a company yet. Find advisors. Don't be afraid to kind of grow out of advisors. If they're good advisors, they'll understand that. And so I have employee number 6 from HubSpot, Dan Tyre, and Infusionsoft's. He just left Infusionsoft, but Infusionsoft's former CTO, who's also a lawyer, who had his own legal tech company back in the late 90s. Both of them are on the board at the same time. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Very good poaching qualities there.
You talked about some of the stuff that I know from personal experience as well, how difficult it is to break into the legal market. And I think Ivan talks about Facebook having the robust advertising capabilities, but in my daily job, daytime job, we found that finding lawyers on Facebook who are actually engaging is a very difficult.
On the legal aspect, I didn't mean it in the legal profession.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of clarify from my own personal experience. You find a lot of attorneys posting on those, but you don't find a lot of engagement. So hard to break in there, similar to the way you're experiencing in the same as on LinkedIn, I think. In my experience, it's really hard to break in through advertising. I love the way that you're doing it.
Well, thanks. And on Twitter, I should mention, I've found leads on Twitter from people tweeting at me. So I write for Forbes, and that's really aimed more at the small and medium-sized business because I got the gig writing on IP for small business. But then I've done a couple of articles there on legal tech, and then I also got invited to write for Legal Technology Today. And when I tweet out those articles, I've then had people engage with me on Twitter and actually got leads out of that, which I find funny because I think it was like March of 2014. It was Barbara Clark who basically phoned me and said, "Why do you have an egg for your picture on Twitter? And why do you only have 25 followers? What are you doing?" And I'm like, I don't even know how to use Twitter. So come a long way. I'm getting close.
I was the same way about 1 year ago. And then I had my eureka moment. And now Twitter is very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
Any business.
Yeah. Yep. And so if people could follow me, that would be great because I'm trying to get to 2,000 followers, real followers, cool. Not people that I'm going to buy Facebook followers from. So or Twitter followers.
Or Twitter followers. Buy 10,000 for $5.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. So one of the things I'm launching here in the next few weeks is going to be basically growth hacking your social media to include Twitter. And I can really quickly show you how to do that without buying anybody and getting exactly the type of people you want to follow you and vice versa. There's a couple of different tools out there. I'm at a point where I'm essentially growing about 1,000 a week at this point.
Okay. I'm on like 1,000 a year plan at this point.
So. Yeah. And it actually, as you grow more, it's essentially like a percentage. So you start reaching a tipping point where you have enough social proof and then people start coming to you.
Interesting.
But you have to produce content, good content, as well as some of the other tricks. I talked a little bit about it with Tatiana on the podcast. I don't know how deeply we went into that. But yeah, there's definitely tools out there. And it's not just like random people from other parts of the world that would never have any interest in buying your product. It's people that you definitely want to engage with, either that are going to buy your product or you're going to be able to learn from them because they're in the field also interested in the same things.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting when people tweet out cool articles and, somebody else doing that triage through the things, because there's just so much. I was at HubSpot's event and they were, I think it was Aziz, the guy from Parks and Recreation. He was up there saying, there we go.
Yeah.
He was talking about the internet, like the $2 million, 2 million page piece of crap book. Like, you think of how many pages we've all read on the internet, and a lot of it is just crap.
Garbage. Yeah, absolutely.
So for someone to cull through that and come up with these really cool tweets is I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, hey, we're at 31 minutes, and I don't know how much time you have left, but I definitely want to talk about Evolve Law in a little bit more detail, because there's some stuff that I'm very interested in. Particularly, you left off here. All these little partnerships that you have are amazing.
So those are our members,
to say the least.
Yeah, those are our members. So I'll tell you the little story of Evolve Law in a little bit more detail. It was one of those things, both Jules and I have toiled with our own individual, like with Traklight, we've pivoted. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it anyways. We've pivoted. We've dual markets. We've had to educate an entire group of people, and now we're educating lawyers. We worked so hard. And then so we came up with this idea of Evolve Law. We started doing these events. We came up with a formula. And when we were in Los Angeles, we had Clio and LegalZoom speaking. We had 2 prominent in-house attorneys speak. We had a great event. And afterwards, people were like, where's your website? Like, this is just something Jules and I do. We've done 6 of these events. We throw them together. And so it was May 20th kind of thing. And I said, well, we're changing the way we're doing Traklight over this summer. So I actually have a little bit of capacity. Why don't we just take this little tiny bit of money that we made on this event, thanks to a sponsorship, why don't we just try it? So over the summer, we figured out our business plan, and then we put up a WordPress site that my team at Traklight had worked on. And then we decided, okay, we're starting to get people interested in this. Our goal, my goal was 10 companies. Jules was more like, let's have 15 or 20. We launched with 26, and we now have over 50. We promised our members we would do 10 events, and we've done 5 in the first quarter. So we promised 10 in a year. So we've already done 5. Wow. And we, not on the site, but exciting news from December and January is that we have Thomson Reuters doing a pilot project with us for...
Never heard of that company. It must be the smallest company in the legal profession.
So they're doing a pilot project with us. They're sponsoring 3 different events, one in Seattle on my key performance indicator loved topic, the Tech Savvy General Counsel, which will be in New York in June, and then a really cool, we do these Darwin talks because of the whole Evolve Law theme we have. So we do these thought-provoking talks, and it's right at the end after our panel, right before the networking. And so we're going to go out to our members, and we're going to get like the top 10 provocative, innovative talks, and that's going to be in LA in May. So those are the 3 Thomson Reuters. Plus we have about an event a quarter in New York, and our events are all about bringing great thought leaders together, exploring topics that are interesting either to lawyers or to legal tech entrepreneurs. The audience is generally practicing lawyers, in-house counsel, and then also trying to get students, 3 Ls, into the fold. And so we're pushing it beyond events, though. We're going to start our own podcasts. And we also make sure that we video all of our events. So they're up on YouTube, and we put them on the site. So then we'll have the podcasting. We've started creating content there. It's a little tough. I'm creating content all over the place. I did reach a point in December where I was like, I need to not write anything other than like a shopping list for about 10 days.
So let me interject real quick, Mary. I'm a self-proclaimed podcast maniac. I think it's still in my Twitter handle there. And the reason why is because I probably consume at this point, maybe about 150 podcasts. I speed listen, so I can consume it fairly quickly and skim through it. And if you're interested in launching your own podcast, I would recommend reaching out, and I can make an introduction to, his name is Gordon Firemark. And I met him at Podcast Movement in August of last year, at the second Podcast Movement. And what he has is 2 different podcasts. He's an attorney. He does entertainment law. And then he also actually does a course on podcasting for attorneys. So it's very niche specific. And he's he's one of the students of a podcasting student of Cliff Ravenscraft. He's considered one of the biggest trainers in the podcasting field because he was one of the first ones out in about 10 years ago when podcasting came out. So there's a lot of free content that he has. You can take a look as well. But I would definitely...
If you could intro me, I would love that.
Absolutely.
Mary, I have a question. Are you going to put Gordon's websites in the chat for us, Ivan?
Mary? You mean me?
Yeah. Sorry. Mary, I had a question. You were talking about bringing 3 L's into the fold. Is that your way of bringing in early adopters into your business? Is that what your goal is there?
Yes, and we did this with Traklight, and we are following the model that is Thomson Reuters. I mean, that's what LexisNexis does too. And so with Traklight, I've gone and spoken to different classes around, around the country about what I did with Traklight, and then I always tell them, here it is, use it for free while you're in law school, because we want people to understand that they're in law school. They're going to come out and they should be using technology. But my own personal thing, and maybe I'll get to this in a couple of years, is I think every law school should have a business of legal class, not about just using technology, but how to run a business. This is my accountant coming out, like cash is king. If I hear one more person telling me like, oh yeah, this is my billable hours, it's like, well, it means nothing if you don't collect the money that goes with it. And if that money isn't more than the money that goes out the door, it's frightening.
Poet, and you did know it.
So anyways, that's my little soapbox.
How many degrees did I have to get? How many years of school did I have to go to and not have a class on how to run a business, where you have to learn that stuff on your own? And it's just baffling to me that those are not things that they're teaching us in college with, a couple of business courses, but I didn't study business. And then you go through law school and you're supposed to go out and practice, and they're not teaching you some of the things you need to know. And arguably, one or at least half of the 1 year or half of semester of the third year could really be concentrated significantly on the practice of law and running in the business of law.
Absolutely. I did take my last year essentially focused on business, tech, and law.
Interesting.
I went to law school at Toro, and there was a clinic there. Actually, he's focused on business, tech, and law. And that's what got me interested in all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and it shouldn't just be law. It's just I'm picking on law because it's a law talk. It's the same thing for doctors, whatever. The assumption is, oh, you're going to make enough money, you'll just hire somebody to do that. Well, you shouldn't be turning over those type of things to somebody until you understand them. So that's just my personal bias. And apparently,
real quick on the chat, did you guys see that Ed Incubator?
Yeah, I was trying to write it down. I'm a terrible multitasker when I'm trying to listen. There's really no such thing as multitasking. So I couldn't catch it. But Educator, if you want to ping me on Twitter, I'd love to chat about what you're doing.
She's now fully steeped in the Twitter universe.
She is. And Ivan's going to provide all of us some hacks so that we can all get better at that.
So, yeah, I grew from literally zero-ish.
I'm
at 400.
I knew Ivan back when he had like 4,000 Twitter followers. That's my claim to fame.
Well, no, it was 4,000 and all of them were bought. And then I cleared them all out, and now I'm at 7,000 real.
Interesting. So I really knew you. I knew you when, Ivan.
when I had literally like maybe 10 or 15 followers.
Mary, can you tell us, and maybe you had another question for her too, Ivan, I'm sure you do, but can you tell us who like the main competitors are in your field for you?
For Evolve Law or for
maybe for Traklight and for Evolve Law. Maybe start with Traklight.
Yeah, so for Traklight on the Vault side, you know, you have the whole Dropbox, whatever, but you have to use Dropbox for business, and you know, there's all of that, and that's really not the space that we try to play in. As far as a competitor to exactly what Traklight does, it's the lawyers doing it themselves or using PDF forms. There isn't somebody who's actually done what we've done, where it's going to provide reports and information and education for the small and medium-sized business. At the same time, we have a specific report for attorneys, which is all the questions and all the answers, thanks to one of our amazing advisory board members who said, if you could make a report that had all of that, it would save me hours. And so we did, and it's called our snapshot report. So there really isn't somebody who has the exact same product as us, okay. Which is a double-edged sword. So there is a need for it. We have sales, it exists, but it's been a long time trying to educate people on why this is so important, but it's starting really to catch on. Right. As far as Evolve Law, the whole idea is we're a community, and so we're not trying to compete with you know, any of the large law firms that do consulting. We're really trying to be this big community with a loud megaphone saying we need to increase the acceleration of the pace of adoption now. And so let's yell it, and then let's work with really innovative law firms. Davis Wright Tremaine is a founding member, our only law firm founding member of Evolve Law. Doesn't mean that other firms can't join. And the advantage to joining if you're a law firm is you can be an early adopter. You can be a beta tester. You can get special discounts on some of the technology as it's rolled out. And we're really going to focus on amping up the community in 2016, but also growing the lawyers that we can get to adopt this. I think it was...
How do I get involved more than I have been?
In the last 10 days since I've known you, I've been meaning to talk to you about your low level of involvement. Well, come to our event February 4th in New York City. We'd love to meet you in person. And yeah, I mean, we are really focused on the people that want to make a change. And there's just no time for, you know, arguing about whether we should do this or shouldn't. The key thing that kills a lot of these legal tech startups are getting across that whole Jeffrey Moore crossing the chasm, getting to sales. And part of it is getting those early adopters. Because I think it was Jonathan Pearl, and I might be attributing this quote to the wrong person, but I've had this similar thing happen to me. You know, he has a great product, he goes out and he does a demo, and the law firm will say to him, okay, that's great. So once you get 5 or 6 people using it, then I want to talk to you. So tell us when you've got 5 or 6 other firms. So it's like chicken or egg. What's that 404? I can see
that's your website for February 4th.
What? That's so weird. Oh, on Traklight? Oh, hi. Is that on Traklight or on...
On Traklight, when I'm looking, if you can see here with me, on February 4th, Evolve Law Investment in Legal Technology. I clicked on it.
You know what? Don't click on that. Go back to Evolve Law, and I'll tell Mike. We just post them on Traklight, but the February 4th that you should use is in on the Evolve Law site. And I'm going to tell Mike about the 404.
Oh, it is on. It's linking to Evolve Law, and it's actually...
Oops.
Events. Let me go in there. So what we're going through here is the events coming up. There's January 12th. That's
at Stanford.
Stanford, and then the one in actually, when is it in Stanford?
Tuesday, the 12th. Yeah.
I'm going to be in San Francisco on Thursday, so.
Oh, I will be
for
there.
Periscope Community Summit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Very exciting.
So will Nick. He's not too far away.
So that is the event, Investment in Legal Technology. It's being held at Davis Wright Tremaine's new lovely offices in New York City. And we have a couple companies that have raised several $1 million, Case Text and Jules Hire and Esquire. And then we'll have a couple of VCs or a super angel, and we have a panel, and then we're doing a Darwin talk on why you shouldn't take VC money if you're a legal tech startup. That's the kind of fun things that we talk about in the Darwin talk. So,
wait, what day of the week is that?
The 4th is the Thursday. Legal Tech is that whole week, and that's the Thursday evening.
All right.
So it looks like
I'll try
we
to make it
have
up there.
a visitor here. We have, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, EDN Incubator.
No, Amos is my name. Can you hear me?
Amos?
Yes. Ivan, do you not recognize me or my voice?
I do.
Okay. Okay. How are you doing, Mary? Nice to meet you. And
Nice to meet you too.
Nick. I think we met before.
Pleasure to meet you.
I don't know how you guys.
Question for Mary about anything she's involved in?
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing to listen to you guys. And Mary, I commend you for what you're doing. We have something in common. I'm an accountant also, and hopefully one of these days I'll go to law school, but I'm chasing money, never stop chasing money. So IT is part of what I also do. I have both background, accounting and IT. And I was a pre-law that never made it to law school yet because I'm chasing money. So everything you said is interesting because I live in that space whereby I constantly try to get the legal industry around me to kind of, appreciate technology and also business. So, for example,
a lot of links that you can now refer them to get to stimulate that FOMO, if you will.
Exactly. So, for example, the question of what business they're in is something that a lot of lawyers don't know how to answer. Because, what business are they really in? And like you said, billable hours, okay, at the end of the day, can you collect? That's even some of it. Part of it also making life complex more is the security aspect of it.
That's a good point.
A one-man law firm is at the risk of every security risk you can imagine, because what is everybody playing with? The whole information security, the whole attorney-client relationship or binding, whatever. The reality of it is that information is being exchanged left and right. But how is it secure? And I'm not talking about deploying a million firewall. No, I'm talking about integration of technology security, operational security, physical security, those together, and then bottom line at the end of the day, financial security, integrating them together, making sure. And they think when you're talking to them, trying to consult with them and help them at the cheapest rate possible, which the kind of money they spend over the weekend, building relationship with their fellow lawyers, and they still don't see it. They try to tell you that, nah, I don't need that. And all you can do is walk away.
It's really interesting. There's a couple of things that I wanted to pick up on. First of all, the whole security thing is super interesting because you hear the whole, oh, well, I don't want to have my information in the cloud. But you look at the hacks that we had in terms of Sony and Target, they had their own servers. So it's actually, in some cases, it can be more safe. The other thing is, as legal technology company owners, it's really important for us to make sure that we do have really good platforms with security. And I know from when we redid our whole platform with our new VP technology. It's our 4th attempt at technology. That's a whole nother story. So when we redid our platform, we made sure that we were working with people who have both security and programming. It's not good enough anymore just to be a great programmer. You have to be secure. And the other comment that I wanted to make is I've had the conversation where you ask somebody, so how many hours do you give away a week? I give away 3. How much do you bill an hour? $345. Okay. So this was a model that we had back then when I was having this conversation with this woman. I said, okay, so I'm telling you, you can have unlimited access to my platform for $495 a month. And you're giving away about $1,000 a week. Yes, but I can't spend $495 a month on my marketing budget. I'm like, no. This is technology. This isn't the equivalent of taking a client to lunch. So it is like, it's frustrating. And that's part of the reason we created something like Evolve Law. So you can put together like-minded people and explain, listen, use Traklight, do the math, 495 or give away $4,000 a month. So that's kind of, that's
a selfish question though. How did you know Nnamdi Okeke?
Sorry?
One of your advisors, Nnamdi.
Oh, Nnamdi. How do I know him?
Just curious.
Yeah, sure. I met, you're pronouncing his name correctly. I've probably been mispronouncing it now for several years. Nnamdi's awesome. He is part of Astia Investors. And although Astia didn't invest in Traklight as the organization, it's a fund, it's a group of angels that will either invest personally or as the group Astia. And if there's any women looking to raise money, you just have to have one woman in the founding group, in the leadership group to use Astia. And so I met Nnamdi there, and I've known him now for 2.5 years.
Cool. I don't know him personally, but I know I can recognize the name. I was born in Nigeria, came to America as a teenager. And I have business in Nigeria. I've been in business in America since 1999, but opened up an office in Nigeria in 2009, which is 10th year anniversary. So I'm very big. One of the things I'm doing now is trying to attract Africans in the diaspora to implement changes in Africa from a commercial market space. No government is too dirty, focusing on the commercial space. Yeah. Well, so that's why I was asking.
No, thanks for jumping in, and thanks for listening in. I wanted to ask before we finish up, because it's getting close to an hour, if you don't mind jumping out, I wanted to ask if Tatiana has a minute or two so we can do a quick introduction, and then we'll close it up. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Tatiana, you want to jump in here? Perfect. Nick, meet Tatiana. Tatiana, meet Nick. Maybe. Drum roll. There she is.
I have my helper here.
Nice.
That's why I haven't jumped in sooner. He's making it a little challenging. But great to meet you. Great discussion. I'm glad I was able to join today.
Now, this is amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction, Tatiana. I think we're definitely going to be collaborating moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
if you let me, if the both of you let me, because it's very interesting what you're doing.
I still owe you more introductions here on the West Coast for some legal startups. So.
Hey, I'm like open arms. You can't really see me, but yes, open arms. Yeah, like this. Excellent. So,
yeah, Mary, one of the startups I invested in does kind of productivity, time tracking, billing, connects with QuickBooks for lawyers. And they were targeting, sorry, I never look right, but into the camera. But they were, they found a way to find attorneys that were using Google Docs, I guess. And so they went and targeted those attorneys with email campaigns because I guess their assumption was that if they're using Google Docs, that they're a little more tech advanced than someone using WordPerfect.
Right. Yeah, and that they're not afraid to use technology.
Yeah.
If you're using Google Docs, then you're collaborating in the cloud.
Yeah,
so you're
exactly.
over the first hump.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to some of the attorneys that still print out emails and put them in binders.
Exactly, yes. Yes, and you know, it was. I think I told Ivan when we were, as part of my angel group, we were looking at this particular company called Lean Law. There were 3 attorneys or 4 on the due diligence committee. None of us wanted to be on the due diligence committee because we've seen so many tools that weren't very good. So we thought that the Lean Law was not going to be very good either. But once we saw the online demo, all of us made a complete 180. So I think with attorneys, maybe, you know, having the online demo, because I think the assumption is that you don't need it. It's going to just suck. Sorry.
He's making lawyerly noises just like us.
I can jump off so you guys don't have to hear our son here interfering, but I'll try to join again, Ivan. This is awesome. So and I'll try to keep introducing you to people. Perfect.
Same here.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you guys.
Enjoy tucking him into bed.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the East Coast, obviously. I told you before. They're
exactly.
over there. They're fast asleep.
Exactly. Lucky you. We're off to do our bedtime thing. So I hope you all have a good night.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait, real quick.
Yeah.
I got to tell the quick story. So just so you guys know, Tatiana did her summer at Baker McKenzie in 2004 in Moscow. I did the same in 2002. And my wife did it in 2006. Same
Small
office.
world.
I worked under intellectual property attorney. He's considered kind of like the top IP attorney in the former Soviet Union. So I was lucky enough to work. I mean, not.
What was his name?
Eugene Adievich.
Okay, because I know a guy, Andrei Minikov. He worked for Baker McKenzie in Russia, and he now lives in Vancouver. I think he would make a really cool guest. And
bring it on.
His father was a composer, and he got into IP law because his father got ripped off. Minikov. He's a famous composer. I'm not very good with classical music, so I didn't know. But he's an awesome guy. Lives in Vancouver and was practicing law, and now he has something called the Trademark Company, and that's all he does now. He gave up his license to practice law, so he's gone to the legal tech dark side.
Nice.
So.
Well, speaking of legal tech, we'll finish it up. Tatiana, thanks for jumping in.
Yep, thank you so much.
We'll
Bye.
So before I close up, Nick, you got anything else? No audio. How about you unmute yourself?
I got it. Let me unmute myself. Let me unmute myself and say all these kind things once again. Mary, it's been great having you on. Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Hopefully we'll see you again in the future.
Definitely. We have Evolve Law events around the country. We'll be in Silicon Valley. I know it's a bit of a drive from so that's Tuesday, and we plan on we've got another one in Phoenix. If anyone wants to come to Phoenix in February, it's generally warm here. So we're doing an event in February, but I look forward to continuing to collaborate. I think we could definitely sit down. Ivan, if you're around on February 5th in New York, I'd love to get together and we could sit down and sort of brainstorm maybe collaborating on some of our podcasts and some of the other things that we're doing. Love to do that.
And what about DC?
Oh, are you in DC? Why did I think you were in New York?
All over the
My business address is in New York, but I live in Northern Virginia.
Okay. Well, DC, we were going to do something with Georgetown in April, but we're going to collaborate probably later this year in DC. So there's nothing slated as of yet in kind of the first 6 months, but we'll try to do something in DC, and maybe you could spearhead it. We're always looking for active. That's how you get more involved. You just step up and do stuff.
That's right.
Got it. So with that is awesome. Upon Nick's request, I basically finally did this. So if anybody wants to, we're going to actually produce a little summary of each one of our shows moving forward. And then also, if you want updates on Legal Tech, the Blab, and anything related to legal tech, I created a lead digit. So all you need to do is send the word legal tech, all one word, to 33444. So text the word legal tech to 33444, and that'll get you subscribed to our forthcoming newsletter.
Ooh, very exciting. I will be turning my phone on and doing that.
So, Mary, really appreciate this. I know 1 hour is a long time because everybody's really busy. I really appreciate it. We finally got to meet. Love your personality. You're very intelligent. You're involved in a lot of stuff. I love I'm self-proclaimed ADD. And you're involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's okay. You can diagnose it.
I'm self-diagnosed and self-proclaimed, but I do it in a positive way. So excellent. Hey, Nick, thanks for coming in as well.
Always.
Nice to meet you, Nick.
The fist bump.
Nice to meet you.
I'll see you in February.
Okay, take care.
See you guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.